Joyous evening. So I made some changes to the script. Again, this is probably more about empathy versus sympathy than it is about evidence against any gods. But if anybody wants to join, this is also evidence gods do not exist. So share the screen and then I will just read the script for you all. Actually, there's no reason to share. You guys can't read that anyway. Anyway, what is emotional intelligence? Humans and other social animals have empathy because of evolution. There are no social animals without empathy. Empathy is a survival strategy involving the oldest parts of a brain. The prefrontal cortex is the youngest part of any brain. One of the functions of the prefrontal cortex is emotional regulation. Sympathy is a byproduct of a prefrontal cortex. Empathetic brains do not understand what empathy is. Educated, empathetic brains understand they have empathy. Understanding is sympathy. Empathy and emotions existed before the prefrontal cortex developed. The prefrontal cortex regulates emotions only because of our human understanding. Humans understand humans are empathetic animals. Our closest relative, chimpanzees and bonobos, do not have this understanding and thus do not have sympathy. Humans understanding social animals have emotion. Humans understand social animals have emotions. Chimpanzees and bonobos do not understand what emotions are or that they have emotions. Thus, emotional intelligence is sympathy. Sympathy is emotional intelligence. Understanding another's pain is not your pain, is sympathy. Human understanding is sympathy. Chimpanzees and bonobos do not have this understanding. Understanding is sympathy. Think about it. Bye. And I think I repeated that a little too many times. I'll have to clean that up before I put that out as a short. Okay, so that was that. And now I'm going to bring up my list of potential human sufferings. Share this tab instead. What's that hat do? Hit the stage. Yes. And now we'll do this. And we'll do this. And we'll do this. Now it can be read. List of potential human suffering. Control X, Control V. These are a list just quickly made of what is a potential human suffering if one tells oneself that it is suffering. Parental abuse, I did not experience it. Not abuse. Incest, I didn't experience. Rape, I didn't experience. Beatings, I didn't experience. Cigarettes put out on you, I did not experience. Stabbed, did not experience. Shot, not experienced. Cutting off my own limb, no, I didn't experience that. Hit by a car, yes. But I didn't suffer. I'm not suffering because I got hit by a car. Bit by a dog, yes. But I'm not suffering. So why don't I consider it suffering when others have? Mugged. I kind of got mugged up in New York City. So yeah, but I didn't get injured. I don't have any PTS from it. Mental abuse, no. Divorces, yes, twice. But I never suffered. I don't regret those marriages. They are part of the reason why I am who I am today. I enjoy who I am today. I have no regrets. So that wasn't suffering. Breakups, yeah, 3 times after the divorces, or 2 times after divorces and 1 time before. But I didn't suffer. That again, there are the reasons those are part of the reasons I am today. And firing, losing the job, yes, I've been fired. I've lost jobs, but I don't think I suffered. So if you think that you have suffered, come on. We'll answer these questions, and then we'll see why I think I haven't suffered if I've experienced any of those. But do you think you have suffered if you've experienced any of those? So we'll see if anybody comes. Do I have anything else planned out today? Well, since I also have evidence God doesn't exist, we'll run through this. So this is a dictionary. Every single word in this dictionary is created by a human being. Every single definition is agreed. Human beings agree upon the definitions in consensus. This is evidence there are no gods. Not one word in here is provided by a god. So that means every description of a god is human based. I understand every single definition of a claimed god, right? So most people that claim a god exists claim that those gods are omnipresent, right? So I know what the definition of omnipresent is. It's present everywhere all the time, right? We have examples of actual, real, objective, omnipresent forces that everyone has a personal relationship with. So we can compare any God claim with an actual, real, objective, omnipresent force. And that omnipresent force is gravity. And when you compare any claimed God to gravity, which actually exists, that shows that that God is not omnipresent. Thus, any God defined with omnipresence in the definition does not exist by definition. Definition by the words created by us, human beings, defined in this book here, describing how the words are being used. So, and since there's not one claimed God that has provided a prescriptive dictionary telling us how a word shall be used, how a word must be used, how a word will be used, is evidence that those claimed gods do not exist. Because that shows that those claimed gods are not omnibenevolent. It shows that they're not omnipotent, and it shows they're not omniscient. Because if they were omnipotent, there would only be one version of their holy book. But every single holy book has multiple versions. Every single one. It shows that they're not omniscient, all knowing, because they should have known that the way they have supposedly put out their holy books, that versions would appear, denominations would appear, different interpretations and understanding of those books would happen. Every single claimed God up to this point in time does not exist. By definition. Period. Full stop. Gravity is an actual, real, objective, omnipresent force that everything has a personal relationship with. Gravity does not care if I am an atheist, a Muslim, a Christian, a Hindu, a Mormon. Gravity doesn't care. Everything accelerates towards Earth's center of mass at 9.81 meters per second. Everything. My finger, my fingernail, every single cell of my fingernail, every single cell of my finger is accelerating towards Earth's center of mass at 9.81 meters per second. Hello, viewer. We can talk about empathy versus sympathy or evidence that God does not exist. Well, nobody seems to care about the topics I find interesting. So, gravity is an actual, real, objective, omnipresent force that everything has a personal relationship with. Every single word of that sentence is defined in this book. Every single word. Every single word is created by human beings. Every single word is defined by human beings. All evidence, observable evidence, that your claimed gods do not exist. Period. Full stop. Oh, what else can we talk about? We're only 9 minutes in. Yesterday I showed a Brene Brown video. Kind of stuck on my script. I guess I'll work on that. What is emotional intelligence? Humans and other social animals have empathy because of evolution. Maybe I should define what emotional intelligence is first. Emotional intelligence is understanding that humans are empathic, empathetic social animals. Emotional intelligence is understanding emotions, cultural stories. Maybe I do this, do this, do this. Maybe I should do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do that. Emotions are a product of empathy. Empathy. Mess that up. Crap. Emotions come from empathy. Empathy. Wrong. Control X. Control V. Empathy is a survival strategy involving the oldest parts of the brain. Empathy is a survival strategy involving the oldest parts of the brain. Humans and other social animals have empathy because of evolution. There are no social animals without empathy. Empathy comes from emotions come from empathy. Humans and other social animals. Empathy is an evolutionary survival strategy involving the oldest parts of the brain, aka is an evolutionary. That means that can come out. I guess I can take that out. Prefrontal cortex is the youngest part of any brain, of all brains. One of the functions of the prefrontal cortex is emotional regulation. Sympathy is a byproduct of this function. Empathic brains do not understand. Empathic brains do not understand what empathy is. Educated empathic brains understand what empathy is, that they have empathy. This understanding is sympathy. Empathy. One of the functions of the prefrontal cortex is emotional regulation. Empathy and emotions existed before the development, before the prefrontal cortex evolved. Sympathy is a byproduct of this evolution. Empathic brains do not understand. Educated empathic brains. Sympathy is a byproduct of this evolution. Empathic brains do not understand what empathy is. Sympathy is a empathetic brain. Understands. Oh, you know what I was going to do? I was going to do black Christians versus black Christianity versus white Christianity. maybe that's what I'll change this to. I'll change this to. Where's my cursor? Had a very interesting conversation with a woman of color who self-reports as being a Christian. It was very interesting. Okay, let me finish the script. Sympathy. Sympathy. It's an empathic brain that understands. It is empathic. Empathetic. I gotta get like that. I gotta get like that. Cut this out. Our closest relatives, chimpanzees and bonobos, do not understand. Sympathy is an empathetic brain that understands. It is empathetic. Our closest relatives, chimpanzees and bonobos, do not have this understanding and thus do not have sympathy. Do not have this understanding of empathy. Thus, hello, viewer. Topic is Black Christianity versus white Christianity. The difference between the two. Want to have a conversation? Come on up. No, didn't think so. They do not have sympathy. Humans understand social animals. Of empathy. Or their brains. Thus, they do not have sympathy. Sympathy is emotional intelligence. Understanding another's pain is not your pain is sympathy. Human understanding is sympathy. That's repeated twice. That. I think that's the new script. Much shorter than that one. I don't know if it gets the same point across. So yeah, so I had a conversation with a woman of color today who self-reports as being a Christian. My starting point was that white people are fragile, as evidenced by January 6th, 2021, that people of color have a passive nature about their resistance, about their goals. And for decades, they have just slowly changed their environments. Where does that, I don't have the words to describe what it is. Where does that, and passive is just the wrong word. And that, then I pointed out how the Africans that were people of color, Africans that were left in Africa, and you look at those countries now, today, they don't seem to be thriving. There's a lot of torment and suffering happening in those countries. And how if you filter Christianity through the a person of color, a black experience, you get something much nicer than if you filter Christianity through a white experience, like the Westboro Baptist Church, or the silly people that allegedly Ian and Justin and Matt Dillahunty and Forrest Valakai, Mr. Deity, Jimmy Snow, Erica Gutsick Gibbon interact with fragile white Americans. So there, in my opinion, there's definitely a difference between black Christianity versus white Christianity. Why? What causes a difference when you filter a Bible through a black person of color, African American, I don't know what the politically correct term is, human being, as compared to the scumbag that unalived killed 13 people. How many people did that douchebag white guy kill? I'm not going to name the douchebag. The Charleston Church massacre, the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina, killing why doesn't it die? It doesn't show. Just say he was charged with 33 federal hate crimes, but that's not how many people. This fragile white person. I guess I got to outright ask. 9. That's white Christianity for you. And Dr. Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech is black Christianity. Jerry Falwell, white Christianity, nonsense. Joel Osteen, nonsense, utter rubbish. Anyway, nobody showed up. Okay, thanks for stopping by. Enjoy the evening. Bye.